All right, what's going on, everybody? How's everyone doing? Bright and early this morning. So, as everyone knows, Coppinger has been putting out all this information about who Canelo Alvarez is going to fight. First, it's definitely going to be Charlo. Now it's supposedly the DAZN deal with Bivol and Golovkin, and Bivol signed his portion of the contract, and they're just waiting on Canelo Alvarez or actually, I don't know what he said. I think he said Canelo Alvarez is signed, and now they're waiting on Bivol. So much conflicting bullshit information that's been put out by Coppinger that's been contradicted by the actual people in the know, the actual fighters and promoters themselves have come out and refuted everything that Coppinger has said. And even I, myself, and obviously I don't want to make this about me, but I put some links to some videos in the description box where I've actually debunked a lot of these claims from Mike Coppinger in the past. I have 3 videos that I put out. I interviewed Bob Arum twice, once about the ESPN $100 million deal and also about the Deontay Wilder step aside. And I asked Bob Arum about both instances, and he denied both. He says, I have no idea what Fury is making, because he said that whole report of that 80 million pound, $100 million US dollar deal was BS, right? And unless you're hearing from the promoter what a fighter is getting paid, more than likely it's going to be bullshit, because he's the guy that's cutting the check. And people are asking, well, why is Logan Paul suing Floyd Mayweather? Because Floyd Mayweather was the promoter. So networks don't deal with fighters. They deal with promoters. Well, why did Floyd get that Showtime deal? Because he's a promoter. He was a promoter. So that's why he got that deal with Showtime. And if you look at all those fights that he had on Showtime, all 6 of them, Leonard Ellerbe, who is the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, was listed as a co-promoter in all those events. And Floyd Mayweather is the president and owner of Mayweather Promotions. So fighters get paid by promoters. So unless your source about a monetary deal or what a fighter is getting paid comes from a promoter, it's gonna be bullshit. All right. And the whole thing about Charlo, oh well, Coppinger's saying, well, there was $100 million deal on the table. But once again, Coppinger was the guy that reported the $100 million deal with Fury. And I went right to the source, the guy who actually writes Fury's checks. He's the guy who pays Fury, right? In the interview, you can click the link in the interview. He goes, we pay the fighters, right? We pay the fighters. The networks don't pay the fighters. The promoters pay the fighters. They're cutting the checks. And we haven't heard anyone in a position of power from that PBC side that actually come out and could verify, right? That can verify that deal with Benavidez and Charlo, that 2-fight $100 million deal, right? We haven't heard anyone from that side who's actually cutting the checks come out and say this is what's what. But we have had Eddie Hearn confirm that, yeah, we have offered this deal to Canelo. So how could you report this about PBC if it's not verified? You know, then you have ESPN giving this guy Mike Coppinger a platform to continuously put out information. At least when a guy like Steve Kim will say something, he'll preface it with "I've been told." Coppinger says it with, definitively. He says it definitively. This is going to happen. Not I heard, not rumor. Sources say this is going to happen. You have to even question, does he even have sources, or if he's just putting out bullshit stories, if it's just clickbait, which it apparently seems to be. but he continues to get away with it. Soon as he puts something out, people continue to regurgitate what he says, what he puts out there. And my source told me that Charlo was not even really an option. The Team Canelo really was not interested in the Charlo fight. Really had nothing to bring to the table. No title, you know. And PBC, you have to question whether or not they have enough money to even pay Canelo, because they're putting out some big fights now, you know. They got some good fights coming down the pike, right? They got that Errol Spence fight with Ugas. That's a big fight. It's a big pay-per-view fight, right? They got the unification between Charlo and Castano. Do they even have enough money right now with the schedule they're getting ready to put out? Do they have enough money to actually pay Canelo $50 million for 2 fights? Right? So we've heard from Eddie Hearn verifying that a deal has been offered. And he's come out and told you that Canelo hasn't made the decision yet. Canelo came out and called Coppinger a liar, right to his face. He just blatantly called him out and said, "Hey, you're a liar." Right? Right there. Called him out and said, "You called him a liar. So you're lying. Because I haven't agreed to anything yet." But yet this guy continues to put out this information, and people continue to regurgitate it. Websites continue to repeat what he says. ESPN continues to put him on shows, and they allow him to say these things over and over again. How many times can a guy be wrong? At least when Dan Rafael did that job before him, he would never come out and say things definitively. He would never say things, "This is definitely going to happen," unless he knew for sure. Sources. There is no sources. There is no sources. Because if you're only talking to one person and you're not talking to everyone else that's involved in the situation at hand, then you're not doing your job properly. And at this point, I even question if Coppinger's not just coming out and flat out lying, right? When you have Dan Rafael calling him out and saying, "Hey, man, you're wrong here." He's come out and said things about Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn would come out and just tell him right on Twitter directly, "Hey, this is not true." And he's saying, "Oh, you're lying, Eddie." Like he's going back and forth with Eddie, and Eddie's the guy that's actually working on the deals. He's doing the deals, right? It's amazing. It's amazing how he's allowed to continue to do this and get away with it. And people continue to just regurgitate it. And ESPN continues to have him come on these Max on boxing shows and during their boxing telecasts. And they continue to allow this guy to come on, given this guy's track record. And when you got a lowly shit bum like me with the ability to debunk this guy's bullshit rumors with proof, right? Bob Arum is telling me, "I don't know where you heard this, and whoever told you this, it's bullshit." Well, Mike Coppinger put it out there. I mean, how many times does the guy have to be proven wrong, right? And who is this source? Really, who is this source? Is it really somebody that's in the know, or is it just a fictitious character that Mike Coppinger came up with, right? It's a fictitious character that Mike Coppinger came up with. Click the links in the description box. Because all those stories, those 3 videos that I put out there were all Mike Coppinger breaking news, sources say, headline, clickbait, bullshit titles to articles of Mike Coppinger. And they've all been debunked. All 3 of them. Right? All 3 of them. And I can go back and I can find more shit. But those are just 3 of the top stories. Right? Those are just 3 of the top stories. Then the whole thing with Crawford and Pacquiao being done, and I mean, how many times has a guy got to be wrong? It wouldn't be as bad if he just came out and said, well, I heard this, I've been told that. But he comes out and reports it like it's done. The whole Saudi thing, I told everyone, the whole Saudi thing was bullshit. I told people 6 months before everyone was saying that fight was done, and Eddie kept saying, oh, we'll announce it next week, we'll announce it next week, we'll announce it next week. I kept telling everybody that was bullshit. I kept telling everyone the step aside was bullshit, right? I kept telling everyone that. I kept telling everyone that the Charlo fight was bullshit. Keep believing Coppinger. Yeah, of course I'm a nobody. Of course Coppinger has a bigger platform than me. But what is he doing with that platform? When has Dan Raphael ever put out, when Dan Raphael had that position, right? And again, I'm not a huge fan of Dan Raphael, but I respect the guy's hustle. He did good work. He did good work. And he actually talked to more than one person. Dan Raphael cared about being right. He took pride in his work. He didn't just want to get clicks. He wanted to have a solid reputation in the business, which he does. Which he does. You may not like him. You may not like his personality or how he interacts with fighters and how he interacts with fans and how's, whatever. But when he put a story out, 99.9% of the time it was true. Coppinger is consistently wrong. He's being called out by other writers, being called out by fighters, promoters. Hey, man, you're lying. You're wrong. And I can even go deeper into Coppinger's history because I've talked to people that work with him, talked to people who employed him, and bounces around because, quote unquote, he's fast and loose with the news, right? It's basically turned into a tabloid, right? You can't respect anything this guy puts out anymore. You can't trust this guy. How many times is this guy going to sell you wolf tickets? And you still hear people saying, I mean, Eric and I will say it's been reported by Coppinger, but you know what that means. We don't put much stock into what Coppinger says anymore, right? And this isn't about trying to tear Coppinger down and trying to, well, it sounds like it is because essentially that's what I'm doing, but it's with good reason because the guy's doing horrible work and he's lying. And he's allowed to lie. And he's misleading people. Right? And he's basically slandering fighters, slandering promoters. Right? Putting out false information, saying they've done stuff that they have not done. Right? And if you're a fighter, you're a promoter, how can you be happy with that? How can you respect this guy? So at some point, this has to stop, man. Someone's got to pull the plug on this guy. Someone just got to say, hey, man, enough is enough. This guy should not be given a platform. He should not be given a platform. He's bad for boxing because you're going to have gullible people out there that are going to believe him, right? People are going to get their hopes. And I kept telling you guys about that whole Saudi bullshit. The whole thing was they kept delaying and dragging that whole thing out. And I said this once and I'll say it again and I'll say it 1,000 times. And I was 100% right. And I knew what they were doing right from the jump. And it's not about me just being right. Oh, we have to be like I told you so. No, because I have a history of being right. I have a history of debunking this guy's bullshit. Right? I have a history of that. So I guess the point is, if a guy like myself, who is a very small channel, who's a nobody in the business, right? If I have the ability to get the correct information, then why someone of Mike Coppinger's status and stature, working for ESPN, one of the largest sports networks in the world, if not the largest, why can't he get it right if I can get it right? That's the point I'm trying to make. That's the point I'm trying to make. If a small nobody like me can get it right, why can't this guy get it right? A guy who has a great position, right? who supposedly has all this access, right? Why can't he get it right when I can get it right? What's up, No Paul? What do you got for me, brother?
I just wanted to say that you know, Coppinger, he's been wrong a bunch of times, but I think when it has to do with Canelo, these guys, I think since like the Triple G fight, they kind of like to put this type of stuff. They like this type of attention from the media because they've been in a position where their opponents have always trying to squeeze more money out of them. So when they put this out there, it's almost like the fans start they want the fans to kind of like
Talk about it. They want the fans to talk about it.
yeah, but
You know
they
what it
want to put
is?
pressure on the other guy to accept the deal, but what a part of that is for the opponent to know that they're also negotiating with like three or four other guys, meaning they don't have to go with the Triple G. You know what I mean? Because we have all these other three guys on standby with the same deal. So it's like whoever takes the deal first. So I think this Coppinger thing, Canelo, he he doesn't necessarily dislike that Coppinger's out there putting this information out, which could be true, might not be. We don't know. He's been wrong a bunch of times, but at the same time, it would put pressure on like Jamal Charlo to take the deal he was offered because he could possibly be trying to squeeze more money out of it. Or same thing with like if they're negotiating with Triple G, he could be possibly trying to squeeze a little more money out of the deal. And historically, this is what's been happening.
Well, I'm gonna go one further for you because Coppinger and a lot of these media guys have turned into PR people. And what I believe Coppinger's doing is he knows it's bullshit, but somebody on that PBC side is telling him, "Hey, man, leak this, leak this out there, put this out there." Why? Because he's trying to give these PBC guys like Charlo, he's trying to put their name in the headlines so they can get attention, right? So people will start talking about them, right? He knows that the deal's bullshit. And Canelo's not the guy that's making the offer, right? He's the guy who's receiving the offer because he's the free agent. He doesn't have a promoter. So all these promoters are going to be making him offers, right? So
Yeah.
I think Coppinger just leaks this shit out there because he's a PBC shill. He tries to put these PBC guys' names in the headlines, right? So he can stay in good with the PBC, right? So he has access to these PBC fighters and has access to these PBC fights. He'll get credentialed, whatever. But he knows these deals are bullshit. I think Coppinger knows, and then he just says, "Well, this is my." He gives himself the luxury of just being when he's wrong, saying, "Well, I wasn't wrong. The person who told me was wrong." But then you can turn around and challenge him. Well, if this so-called source continues to give you information that is wrong, then why do you continue to rely and trust this source? And why should we continue to rely and trust your information? So, in my honest opinion, this is all just clout chasing and trying to get publicity and attention at the expense of Canelo's name.
And you know what, B, when it comes to fighters like Canelo, Fury, Lomachenko, the truth is the fans don't care if that type of thing is true. In the big, in the big picture of these things, the fans just need a reason to talk about them every day. You know what I mean? If you go to Twitter's, you'll see that, you know, like when Coppinger puts out these things, the fans go crazy with these tweets. And you'll see that the same type of thing on YouTube. There's channels that make up things. They look at a situation and then they put two things together. They'll put out some clickbait like, "Oh, Canelo tells Jamal Charlo that his brother deserves this fight more than him, and that he should fight it, the 154 Charlo." And you know what? That video probably got about 100,000 views. You know what I mean? And it was total lies. But it's a situation that the fans really eat up. And like I said, I think that the fans I've realized that at this point, when you have fighters of that magnitude, people don't even care if it's true. They just want a reason to talk
Yeah.
about them.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even think there is a deal on the table from the PBC side. I really don't. And here's another thing too. Because one side sends one side an email, because one side proposes a fight to another side, if the other side does not respond, which Canelo has said, we have not responded to them. Eddie Reynoso said, we have not responded to them, right? So if there's been no dialogue, then how could there be talks? If I'm calling you and you're not picking up the phone, am I in, you and myself having an actual conversation? Are we in talks? So that's the thing, you know, just because someone sends someone an email. And then Eddie Hearn made a great point when Deontay Wilder supposedly sent their side an email. Okay, once again, networks and fighters do not pay other fighters. Promoters pay fighters. Promoters get the money from the networks, and it's their responsibility to pay the fighters. Once the fighter gets his check, he pays his team. That's how it works. No network is cut. When you look at a check from a fighter, right? When you looked at Julio Cesar Chavez's check, when they put that, when he put it on Instagram, it didn't have the network's name on the check. It said Heyman LLC on it. That's what it said on it. When
The
you
last time I seen a check with the promoter was when Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo, and he showed the check for $100 million,
and
it
what
said
name
Golden
did
Boy on
it?
it.
It said Golden Boy on it because Golden Boy was the promoter of the event. You're not going to ever see a guy, a fighter, receive a check that says Showtime on it. You're not going to see that. So that's why everyone's like saying, well, why is Logan Paul suing Floyd Mayweather and not suing Showtime? Because Floyd Mayweather was the promoter of the event.
Yeah.
So that's why he's getting sued. So again, you know, this whole thing, well, ESPN's paying no. You can go back and listen to my interview. Bob Arum says, we pay the fighters. We cut the checks. And he's telling you that when Coppinger reported that $100 million deal, he said it right to me. It's on tape. That deal is bullshit. And to this day, ESPN still says that Tyson Fury has a $100 million deal when he doesn't.
Damn.
You know, not ESPN themselves, but the guys on that, what's his name there? Bernardo Asuna and who's the other guy there? Joe Tessitore. They'll continue to say that. They'll continue to repeat things that have been debunked by Bob Arum.
And for a guy like Bob Arum, man, he really hates it when you get involved in his negotiations.
Bob Arum doesn't like to talk about money. And first of all, Bob Arum does lie a lot. They all lie a lot, right? But one thing Bob Arum has been pretty accurate about is what he's paying fighters. No fighter, no fighter's ever said that Bob Arum didn't pay me. No fighter's ever said I didn't get what I was supposed to get. You know, what's been reported about Terrence Crawford's getting $5 million, $6 million, whatever, it's never been questioned by Bob Arum or by Terrence Crawford. So one thing Bob Arum's pretty accurate about is the numbers. You know, he doesn't lie about what a fighter is getting paid. He'll lie about other shit, but he doesn't really lie about the finance part of it. You know? And he'll tell you if he lost money on an event. He's not afraid to tell you, hey, we lost money here. Sometimes Bob Arum's too honest about the numbers. He says too much about the numbers that he should. You know? But again, we don't even know. I don't even think. Do you really think that PBC is gonna offer him $100 million for 2 fights? You really think they have the ability to do that right now? I think
I don't know if it's is it even,
I think it's bullshit.
Is it even PBC bullshit. Really? Because it's Showtime that wanted that, wasn't it? That one guy.
But again, PBC has a deal with Showtime. Okay. Now here's the thing. You can say, yeah, well, Beep, the networks still have a say on the fight, though, because then it's up to the networks to give you the date. If the networks don't like the fight that you're presenting to them, then they're going to say, no, we don't want that fight on the network. And that's why a lot of these PBC fights are on pay-per-view, because they're saying, Showtime and Fox are saying, hey, listen, we're not gonna give you the guarantee that these fighters want. Go out there and put it out on pay-per-view. We're not going to reserve the date. We're not going to give you this time slot on our network. You will give you, you put up the guarantee, which is they'll give them a smaller guarantee. And you know what? You shoulder the financial burden of this show. You pay these guys on the pay-per-view end, right? Put this on pay-per-view, and then, it's on you. That's why a lot of these fights are on pay-per-view now, because PBC cannot get the dates from Showtime and Fox. So Fox is saying, hey, no, we're not going to secure this date for you. We're not going to give you this time slot. Just like when they had the deal, when they had the free boxing on, the networks didn't re-sign with them, right? They didn't re-sign with them. So everyone's saying, why are all these fights on pay-per-view? Because Fox and Showtime will not give PBC the dates and will not put up the guarantees. They're saying, you know what? You pay these fighters with the pay-per-view revenue. So the guarantees are smaller, right? Tank Davis's guarantee is like $1 million, and Cruz's was like $300,000. That's $1.3 million. Now, if they were to have that fight on regular Showtime, then the guarantees would have to be more, right? So then they'd have to get more money from Showtime to pay the guarantees for these fighters. So now Showtime is saying, you know what? We'll give you less of a guarantee, right? You do you do the promotion. You do the promotion, right? You promote this fight. You go out there and do the advertising for this fight. We'll help you out, whatever. But you shoulder the financial burden.
Yeah, and according to what Floyd is telling Logan Paul, he's saying that the only money Logan hasn't been paid is the pay-per-view, and that takes time to get paid. So,
well, that's the thing.
It's sounding like even like Keith Thurman, he's not going to get his money right away. It's going to take a little bit of time, right?
They can slow pay. They can slow pay these fighters, because they can continue to say, oh, well, the money's we're still counting we're still trying to get the correct amount of buys. We're still collecting the data. It's like anything else. They can pay him in increments, right? Maybe he's thinking, I'm going to get it all at once, but they could spread it out over the period of a year or even 2 years if they wanted to.
Can you see any of these PBC fighters starting to get mad and trying to look elsewhere now, since this situation's happening with the pay-per-view?
A lot of these PBC fighters are mad, but they have nowhere to go right now, so they shut their mouths. And then when some of them are coming out and speaking right now, and then everyone asks, well, why does PBC run this friggin' covert operation the way they run it? Think about this. All fighters today have issues with inactivity, but no fighter has the activity issues that these PBC fighters have. Like, these PBC guys are fighting once every 2 years or whatever. Why do you think that is? Well, because Al Heyman is not a promoter. It's not even a manager. He's an advisor. But they sign these deals with Al Heyman, right? Where they're locked in with Al Heyman, But Al Heyman, because he's not a promoter, he doesn't have to guarantee them fights. He doesn't have to give them a mandatory minimum, right? So he has the luxury of being able to shelve these guys when he wants to shelve these guys, because he's not an actual promoter. They're not signing a promotional contract with him, right? So that's why these guys are on the shelf for a year and a half, 2 years. And it's not just one or two, it's multiple fighters. When you look at the majority of fighters who are being grossly inactive, they're all PBC fighters. Why? because they're not guaranteed fights. They're not guaranteed mandatory minimums. Like when you look at a guy like Haney, right? You look at a guy like Crawford. You look at a guy. You look at Fury. You look at all the guys. You look at Joshua. All the Eddie Hearn fighters. They've signed promotional contracts with their promoters. They have financial agreements with these promoters, and they have agreements which they're supposed to get a certain amount of fights every year. You see Crawford, who's suing Top Rank because he was guaranteed a specific amount of fights every year. He's guaranteed a specific amount of mandatory minimums every year. When you sign a contract with Al Heyman, because he's not a promoter, he doesn't have to give you those things, right? So that's why these guys are so inactive, because they're not guaranteed a specific amount of fights. They're not guaranteed mandatory minimums. So you ask yourself, does it really make sense to sign with Al Heyman? And then that's why he's able to have all these people under contract, quote unquote, with friggin' advisor type role, right? An advisory role. I'm trying to friggin' fumble to get that word out. So he's in an advisory role. He can have all these guys signed, right?
Yeah.
But there's no way you can keep 200 guys active. There's not enough dates. There's not enough slots.
And the venue's not big enough for all that.
Right. And then it was different. This is what happened. When he had the deal with ABC, NBC, CBS, Showtime, Fox, ESPN, he went from 6 platforms, right?
Yeah.
To 2. So that's another issue of why all these guys are active. How are you going to keep these fighters active when you don't have the dates and you don't have the time slots?
Yeah.
There's no way with two platforms you can keep all these guys active.
I don't even think Golden Boy was able to keep all these guys active. He was doing I think they were more active, but that in retrospect, that you see how little fighters Golden Boy has now. It's hard to believe that he had all these people, huh?
That's why you see Garcia left. You see Jacobs left. Jesse Vargas left. They were all PBC fighters.
Jacobs was one of the early ones, right?
Yeah. And when these guys left, they made more money. Mikey Garcia made $7 million to fight Jesse Vargas.
That was crazy.
And Devin Haney was fighting on Showtime for a while with working. He never had a deal, but he was on some Mayweather Promotions / PBC.
And as young as Devin
PBC
Haney
shows.
is, it's amazing how much money they say he makes, like $3 million per fight.
Yeah.
You can imagine it's very hard to get him a real fight though, because like in the Cambosa situation, I mean the dude's got 4 belts, so he's looking at Haney like, you make $3 million, okay, let's negotiate, right? And so the whole situation right there's a problem right there. You make $3 million, I just made about 1.5, and now I have these belts. I want a little more than what you're making. Okay, Eddie, what are we gonna do? Well, the money's not there on the table to pay Gambosa's $4 million and pay Haney. Because Haney wants more than for the type of fight this is. Haney probably wants more than his usual. So there's a problem right there, and so Haney probably wants a little more money, and of course Gambosa wants to get paid more than Haney. So of course that fight can't be made.
Here's the thing about that whole Devin Haney situation, because everyone's jumping all over Haney's side. Oh, he's pricing himself out. He's doing this. He's doing that. Here's the thing. Bob Arum and Top Rank, just like they won the purse bid over Eddie Hearn because they put up a bigger amount of money. It seems to me, and Cambosis has confirmed this, that he just got a better offer from Top Rank, right? Because they're the ones, Cambosa's side, Lou DiBella, and we talked about this on the roundtable. I don't know if you watched the roundtable this past Thursday.
Yeah, I saw it.
And you remember when I said Cambosis is the A-side fighter,
Of
but
course.
he has the B-side promoter.
Yeah, because he
Okay,
can't provide all that, right?
DeBella doesn't have a network, doesn't have a platform to showcase Kambosos on. That's why Kambosos was on DAZN, and that's why his next fight will either be on DAZN or it'll be on ESPN or ESPN pay-per-view, right?
Yep.
So because DeBella doesn't have the resources to put the fight on, he doesn't have the net, he doesn't have the network deal or the platform to put the fight on. Someone else is going to have to make the offer, right? So Eddie Hearn made the offer, right? But Top Rank made a better offer. So if people are saying that Devin Haney's not happy and he's pricing himself out, but Eddie Hearn is contradicting all those statements, who are you going to believe? Eddie Hearn, once again, believe the guy who is cutting the check. Eddie Hearn would be paying both fighters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'd be paying both fighters. Like he's putting up the money.
And they haven't said how much the offers are for Loma and Kambosos, right? So there's no starting point for us to assume anyways.
So
But
if Eddie Hearn is the guy, and what does Kambosos keep saying to all these guys? Make me the offer. Make me the offer. And then everyone's saying, well, why does everyone have to make Kambosos the offer if he's the A side? Because he has the B side promoter. His promoter doesn't have a network deal. When Top Rank and Eddie Hearn have network deals.
Exactly.
So they're in the position of power in that regard.
He's at their mercy, basically, right?
Yeah, and everyone's jumping on Devin Haney. He's doing this, he's doing that. And Bill Haney's saying all these things. And again, I like Bill Haney, don't get me wrong. But we don't know what the truth is. If Eddie Hearn and Devin Haney are saying we're willing to travel, right? But Bill Haney saying that they shouldn't travel. Just because Bill Haney says that they shouldn't travel or why can't we do it in the States, everyone's sitting there saying that, oh, well, Devin Haney doesn't want to go to Australia. No, that's just Bill Haney's fucking position on the deal. So who gives a fuck what Bill Haney says? He's not in a position of power. He's not cutting the check. Eddie Hearn is the guy that's going to be putting the deal together. And if he's telling you that Devin Haney will do whatever needs to be done for this fight, then why would he be lying?
And you know what? The reality with Bill Haney is if he has enough time to take 3 hours out of his day on Friday to go on Free Smoke Friday, come on, how serious can you take this guy?
Come on, man. Stop listening to guys like Bill Haney, Teofimo Sr., guys like fucking Angel Garcia. These guys are just they're living vicariously through their sons. And I'm not saying Bill Haney doesn't love his son. I'm not saying that Teofimo Sr. doesn't love his son. But are we going to stop listening? So we're going to stop listening to everything these guys say. According to Teofimo Lopez Sr., right?
Yeah.
Fucking Teofimo Jr.'s next fight's going to be on pay-per-view. So because he said that, are we supposed to be, oh yeah, Teofimo Jr. wants his next fight on pay-per-view? Doesn't matter what Bill Haney says.
But you know what?
He says
even though that's
things,
not possible, right? We know that if he was on PBC, he'd be on pay-per-view. All of his fights would be televised on pay-per-view.
Just because Bill Haney comes out and says, oh, well, we don't even know if Australia is going to be open. Oh, well, there's stadiums in the United States that we could fight on.
Oh, man. Yeah. But you know what?
G-Funky. Again, you can't listen to what Bill Haney says. Bill Haney told Ness he'll cut Kambosos a check that says David. No, he won't. He won't do that because the fight's going to be on DAZN, right? DAZN's not paying fucking Bill Haney, okay? DAZN pays Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn will cut Devin Haney's check, not Bill Haney. DAZN will cut George Kambosos' check, not Bill Haney. Bill Haney is not in a position of power. He's not cutting checks. He's getting a check from his son after his son gets a check from fucking Eddie Hearn. You can't listen to what Bill Haney says. He's not in a position of power. He's not in a position of power. So if unless you hear it from Eddie Hearn himself and Devin Haney, you can't take what these fucking these fathers say seriously. You can't listen to what Bill Haney talks too much. He's not cutting checks. Let's look at Devin Haney's. Let's go on BoxRec and let's look at Devin Haney's last fight. Watch this. Watch this, right? Let's go on BoxRec and let's look at the Jorge Linares fight, right? Oh, excuse me, the Joseph Diaz fight. I apologize.
And he's about to fight, right, today? Linares?
Yes. Let's open up the event where it says event, right? Promoter, Eddie Hearn, and then Devin Haney. Eddie Hearn is listed, right, as the lead promoter, right? And who's the media? DAZN. Who does DAZN have a deal with? Eddie Hearn or Devin Haney? They have a deal with Eddie Hearn. So because Devin Haney's allowed to put his fucking name on the banner or whatever, just because he's listed as a co-promoter, Eddie Hearn is the guy who is paying Devin Haney. Okay? Devin Haney is not the lead promoter. It's not. He's not cutting checks. He's not paying fighters. Eddie Hearn is paying fighters, not Devin Haney.
I think what Devin Haney's dad does is he's kind of like an Abel Sanchez, you know, and he fills in that role of having his ears to the street and what, you know, the fan bases are talking about. And he kind of probably gets in there and tells Devin in what direction they should go, you know. In this case, you know.
Look at all these fights that when you click on Haney Promotions, right? They have 1, 2, 3, 4. They've promoted 5 events. They've been around since 2015. Okay, and in 7 years, they've been listed as a co-promoter in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 events. Let's look at this event they had in 2015, right, in Mexico. Open it up. Once again, Gabriel Quinones is listed as the lead promoter, and Devin Haney's on there as well. All right? And let's look at this event in New Jersey. Look at the promoters. Deborah Lamana. So that was a Thomas Lamana event, right? His company. Devin Haney, David Schuster, Greg Cohen, right? So they've never put on an event themselves.
They're just co-promoters, right?
Just co-promoters. Here's one event that they put on themselves. It's Devin Haney was a promoter of this one event, a very small show, right? It was a very small show, and this was back in 2018 before he had the DAZN deal, and this was on Showtime, okay? And this is when he was before he was a champion. So this is one fight that they've done themselves, very small show, where he fought Juan Carlos Burgos, right? So let's look at this other event real quick. Let's go through all the events.
I got a question for you regarding this co-promoter thing. So is that the reason why he gets paid so much, or should they like split his pay up? Because
here's another event when he promoted himself. It was another small show. No, that's the same one. I'm sorry. It's the same one. So let's look at the one in 2019. Once again, Amber Bishop, Devin Haney. So he promoted one show himself. He was listed as a promoter, a very small show. He's never he doesn't have the stroke. He doesn't have the ability. I'm not trying to diminish what he's doing as a promoter. If he wants to be a promoter, I'm sure as time goes on, his promotional company will become bigger and bigger. But right now, he's not in a position of power with his promotional company where he can finance a high-profile fight. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, but I wanted to say, is that part of the reason why he makes so much money? Is the fact that he's a co-promoter?
I just think because DAZN, worked out this deal with Eddie Hearn. It's Eddie Hearn's. It was Eddie Hearn's discretion to pay Devin Haney.
Oh,
He,
because
like D Style says, they invested in Devin Haney's potential. Devin Haney very well could be, arguably, it's open to debate. Arguably, he could be the best lightweight in the world. Some people think he's the best light. Some people think he'd beat Lomachenko. I believe he'd beat Kambosos. I think Lomachenko would beat him now, right? But
yeah,
some people disagree with me. If I was to put a poll out there, who would win between Devin Haney and Lomachenko? I think it would be pretty much close to 50-50, right?
yeah, I
So
think it'd be like 60-40, 70-30.
so people can say, oh, what has Devin Haney done? How
Yeah,
popular is he? How he's being overpaid, this and that. But a lot of times, people invest in these fighters' potential, right? They're looking at at how old is Devin Haney?
I think he's
He's
like
20. I think
20.
he's 22 years old,
Yeah,
right? So I think that, as D Style says, they're investing in Devin Haney's potential. It's not about what he's done, and what he's accomplished so far and how popular he is, and he's 23 years old, right? He's 23 years old. He's got a long road ahead of him, and if he continues to win, he could become a big name in the sport of boxing. He could cross over, right?
yeah, and you know what? He was there when DAZN was throwing money around, so of course they were going to pay him good.
But yeah, I mean, Bill Haney, you can say whatever he wants. He can have his opinion on, oh, well, the fight doesn't have to be here, doesn't have to he can be concerned about the lockdown in Australia. He could say anything he wants, but he's not going to be making the final decision. Devin, what's going to happen is Eddie Hearn puts the deal together, presents the offer to both fighters, and it's up to Devin Haney to listen to his father or not. If Devin Haney is saying that he'll have no problem going to Australia, and Eddie Hearn is saying we have no problem, Devin Haney's told me, and we have no problem going to Australia. That's the plan. That's the intention all along. Just because Bill Haney goes on the Boxing Voice and says, "Oh, the fight doesn't have to be in Australia. We don't even know what the situation is going to be like over there, if they're going to be full capacity or not." Blah 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 blah. That doesn't mean anything. Now everyone's running with, oh, Haney's ducking him. Haney's pricing himself out of the fight. Based off of what? Based off of what? We interviewed Bill Haney on the Boxing Voice before that Jojo Diaz fight, and he was saying all types of crazy shit. Like, about contracts, contracts. He's not sending contracts over. All right? He's not sending contracts over. Eddie Hearn is sending contracts, not him. All right? I'm sure he's looking at contracts, but he's not sending contracts. He could sit there and tell his son, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you should do that. I don't like this. I don't like that. His son can still do whatever he wants to do. Right?
Yep.
Son can still do whatever he wants to do. And if you listen to what he was saying about the Jojo Diaz situation, oh, well, Jojo Diaz is this, they're doing that. They don't want the fight, blah, 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 blah. The fight happened, though, didn't it? So apparently he was wrong, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think JoJo even signed the part of the contract before Haney. So,
Yeah.
it sucks that sometimes these guys get out there and say stuff like that. Like recently,
he was sitting there saying all these things about Jojo Diaz, right? Then when Jojo Diaz came on, when it was him, Jojo Diaz, and us on, he started changing his tune.
Oh, he pulled Jacobs, huh? When he said,
yes,
you ain't touching ends like me, Charlo.
Yes. So again, I'm not here. Bill Haney is a nice guy. He loves his son. You can't fault him for that. He's going to say what he feels is best and do what he feels is best for his son. But just because Bill Haney says something, you can't always take that with a grain of salt. You can't. I agree, G Funky. I think Loma would beat Devin Haney. I do. But there are a lot of people that disagree with me.
That's crazy because I think Loma would beat everybody probably, man.
I think Loma's gonna gonna knock. I agree with Ring IQ. I think Loma is gonna knock out. I think he's gonna knock out Camposis. I am gonna go live for Brook Khan. I was thinking about it, and I am going with Brook by stoppage. Yeah, I'm gonna go live.
You're going with Brook by stoppage?
Yes.
Man,
yes.
he looks terrible.
Nah, he looks awesome,
look at the
bro.
weight. Look at
he
weight,
looks shredded, bro. He looks shredded.
He always looks shredded. He looks shredded in the face, man. Dry as hell.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like how he looked at the weigh-in. They think he looked dry.
I'm surprised he didn't come out with a hospital robe, man. Come on.
He looked all right to me, man. I don't think he looked that bad.
Where'd they hide the IV at, man?
You know what the good thing, Nepal, you know what the good thing about it was?
What?
They announced this fight a long time ago. So he knew he had the fight a long time ago. And this is just my opinion, and this is just what I suspect. I think he started his weight cut
early
for this fight. And I suspect that he may have had plenty of time to get down, and he may have done it in a proper way.
I don't know, man, because, you know, ever since he was itching to get out of 147 for that Triple G fight, it seemed like he jumped at that opportunity.
Maybe he's a 154-pounder. He should never have been. I mean, he should never have stayed at 147 as long as he did.
Yeah, exactly. So what weight is this fight going to be at?
149.
And it's a 10-pound rehydration, right?
No, there's no title on the line.
No, I'm saying rehydration, though. They put a clause on it.
Did they put I don't know. Can someone verify that? Is there a rehydration clause in this contract?
Because I think Khan was telling him, man, you ain't going to make the weight, buddy. You know?
Are you sure that I heard there wasn't?
Hey, this is what I heard Brook say,
let me Google it.
I heard Brook say
Brook rehydration.
I heard Brooks tell somebody that he might just come in overweight. So what does that mean?
Oh, Ben Shalom confirms no rehydration clause in Khan Brook. There is no rehydration clause.
Oh, okay.
Nope. I think what he was saying was he when he was talking about coming in overweight, he may come overweight on in the weigh-in.
Oh, okay.
Think about this though. Well, if he did do that, they would have to pay severe weight penalties.
I thought they should at least have done it at 155, given that Khan has fought at 155.
No, you know what they should have done it at, in my opinion? This fight should have been like at 150. 150, 151. You know what I mean? Like 151.
Yeah. Oh, because people saying Khan is real small, huh? He's not even a real welterweight.
Oh, nah. They're about the same size, bro.
But you know what? He's with the bullshit, too. Remember when he fought Canelo? He tried to put out those pictures where he's all big and buff?
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy. You know?
That was crazy.
Fighters do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's no rehydration clause.
Oh, okay.
Here's the thing. I'm going to break down this fight. I should do this on a separate video, but Khan has fast hands. He's got pretty quick feet, but his hands are faster than his feet. So a lot of times, because his hands are so fast, his hands are ahead of his feet, and he overextends himself a lot, and he leans forward too much, right? And he makes that mistake. Like you could see when Canelo hit him with that right hand, he leaned too far over. His elbow went over his fucking lead knee. He was off balance, and he was out of position. And he always makes that one big mistake in every fight where he gets hit with a fight-changing punch, and he never recovers from it. Thing about Brook is a fighter that has great timing. He's a lot more technically sound. He throws those straight punches. He's more precise. He's got a lot more precision than Khan. Khan's that guy that just basically throws the spaghetti up against the wall and see if a couple strands stick. So he'll blanket you with punches just to get one or two in, right? But Brook is that more precise guy. He's a counter puncher. And first thing to go on a fighter is your speed and reflexes. But timing stays with you a little bit. Timing is instincts. Timing comes from experience. Timing comes from having that sense of presence in the ring, knowing what to do when and where in the ring, and knowing what punch to throw at what time. That's all habitual. That's all from years and years of practice. So the timing is the last thing to go. Khan's speed, while he's still probably faster than Brook, maybe the gap isn't as great as it would have been 4 or 5 years ago. And because Khan always does overextend, right? He's a little bit too greedy sometimes with his offense. And Brook is that more precise guy, doesn't waste much, and he's the counterpuncher guy. And I think he hits harder than Khan. And I think he's going to be much bigger and stronger than Khan on the night or tonight. I think Khan's going to make that one big mistake that's going to turn the fight. It's going to turn the fight. And I think he's going to get knocked out in 8 rounds. I think
Didn't
so.
he hire Bomac and Crawford for that precisely?
Yeah,
And
that's another thing. He's constantly changing trainers.
Yeah.
Brook's been with Ingle forever.
Yeah.
You know? Brook's been with Ingle forever. So I'm going with Brook tonight because I think Khan is going to be a little bit greedy. He's gonna be a little overzealous. He's gonna get caught leaning in, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna get caught taking too many chances, and he's gonna make that one mistake, and he's gonna get hit with that one big right hand that he's not gonna recover from. I think Brook's gonna stop him.
When's the last time Khan won a fight, Joe?
I have to open up the box check. I can't remember. I think he won his shit.
Because it seemed to be all knockouts, right? Knockout losses as of recent.
Well, both guys. All their losses are by knockouts, bro.
Oh man, because it seemed like Khan got exposed early in his career, slowly, you know, on what is.
Well, actually, I apologize. Khan has lost one decision. That was to Lamont Peterson, but his other 4 losses were by knockout.
Oh.
When was the last time Khan won? Let's look. Can't remember, man. Oh, his last fight was against Billy Dibb back in 2019. He's been inactive for 3 years.
Damn.
Let's look at Kell Brook. Brook's last fight, I think, was in 2020, if I'm not. 2020 against Terrence Crawford.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, I wonder if we could squeeze a trilogy out of this fight right here. They're too old or what?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say something extremely off the wall, controversial. This could be a fight of the year candidate.
And if it is, you think we'll get
could get a second fight out of this?
Oh shit! Well,
I wouldn't be surprised if we get a second fight out of this,
or a trilogy.
Could get a trilogy, man.
It would be pretty nice, man. If like what I started to realize is back then, I just wanted the best fights, but I'm starting to see that a lot of these fights have to do with the event, and you know what I mean.
Well, let me ask you this:
get all into it, man, with the hype and all that. There's nothing wrong with it, bro.
This fight is huge over in the UK, right?
Yep.
I'm actually excited about this fight because I think both guys, and I know I'm not the first guy to say this, it's pretty obvious that both guys are at the same point in their careers. So it's not a mismatch because both guys are vulnerable, because both guys are offensive minded, because both guys can punch a bit. This has all the makings for a very exciting fight. These two styles, I believe, mesh beautifully together. And that's why I'm saying, just like when you looked at the Ettore Gotti, Mickey Ward trilogy, those guys weren't the best. They were good, very good fighters. Don't get me wrong. They weren't the best fighters in the world, right? They were nowhere near at the top of the division that they were fighting in, right?
Yeah.
But because the way those two styles meshed together, because those guys were at similar points in their career, similar skill levels. Obviously, you can argue Gotti was probably a little bit better of a boxer than Ward, but they were still comparable in where they were in their careers, which made for a great trilogy, right?
Yeah.
This could be the same thing.
And you know what? The ability to be able to follow a storyline has a lot to do with it too. And this storyline right here, most of us know it. You know what I mean? Know at least the important things about it, and it's actually, it's encouraging, man. Because at first when they announced this fight, I was like, whatever, it doesn't even matter anymore. But as I saw the bad blood again, it kind of reignited, some of the interest for this fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing it today. And it's gonna be early, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna go live, man. I'm thinking. Let me look at this. I have. Let me look and see when this is. When this is what the timing and
Yeah, I know
probably.
there's a guy on Twitter. He puts out the schedule for, and man, that thing's a godsend. His schedule that he puts out for these fights.
No, I
What's
got
up,
this.
Maestro?
I got this app, man, that has all the fights. It's a schedule. It's a schedule app,
What's the
and I
app
guess
called?
this.
Let
Let
me
me
write it
double.
down because I need that.
Yeah, you need this app, man. It's called. Let me see. Schedule here. Oh, Boxing Showtimes. It's called.
Okay,
It's
I'm
a
gonna write
great.
that
It's a
down.
great app, man.
Do you got any apps for judging scoring fights?
Yeah, I got this app called Boxing Scorecard, man.
Oh, okay. Because the thing I don't like about that app is you can't just like type in the fight that you want access to. You know.
No, I have an app where you can type in the fighter's name. Maestro, what's going on, brother? Drop some
What's good,
knowledge for
Joe?
us. Drop some knowledge,
How's it
man.
going, everyone? How's it going, Nopal?
Good,
What's
man.
up, Maestro?
Not bad. I'm here. I got an early morning show thanks to Joe Habib. It's
Oh
always great
shit.
when I see Joe go early, you know. And it's crazy because how is it that full-time working people like Joe and myself, like D Style Boxing, and like you, Nopal, are able to put together more quality content that guys that are getting cut checks from major corporations that run media outlets. It's unbelievable. How many times can you be wrong? How many times can you throw up reports that are not sourced, right? uh it's incredible. And in the past, journalists would lose their jobs, if not just be ridiculed within an industry for constantly putting up articles or for putting out content that is essentially not done the right way. Anyone can go to a Twitter page or do a website and start writing whatever they want, but what's supposed to separate people like that from from journalists, is journalistic practice. Research, sourcing, taking the time to go out to get interviews, to verify with 2 or 3 follow-up people to confirm things, to confirm facts. Yet people who literally do this full time continue to just fall flat on their faces, and it's like there's no repercussions to this. I just don't understand. Like, I don't know if you can put the screenshot up or reference the quote again, Joe, but there's no source of information. It's not source. It's presented as fact. It's like a fact took place. Here's the fact. Boom, I'm going to throw it out there for the world. Not I think, or someone I spoke to thinks, or
I've
you
been
know, it's
told.
it's this is the fact. Washington D.C. is the capital of the United States. That's a fact. You don't need to check that with multiple people. Uh, Joe Habib lives in Massachusetts. That's a fact. You don't need to check that with multiple people. But when you report on these things and act as if it's a fact, I just have a big problem with it, man. And people might say, "Oh, we're hating." We don't have ESPN checks. No, I don't. I'm a full time teacher. Joe's a full time civil servant as well. Uh, we're not out here, pretending to be journalists. But what's interesting to me is that we actually do more journalism than the people oftentimes that are getting paid to be full-time journalists. It's crazy. Why don't you just report on the fact when the fight is signed? Is ESPN really that desperate for clicks, Joe?
Well, here's the thing. Now, ESPN's become complicit in it because they give this guy a platform on Max Unboxing. They'll put him on shows where they're doing events. They'll quote him. They'll put his Twitter feed up there, and it all comes back to these
They'll
guys just.
reference him as a
Yeah. Oh,
source.
sure. Yeah. But it all comes down to these guys just being PR people. And I told Nepal this earlier. And I have 3 videos in the description box of Mike Coppinger headlines that have been debunked by me going directly to the source. I have Bob Arum refuting Mike Coppinger twice, and I have another person via Messenger who I didn't reveal. He told me that Charlo fight was never going to happen. And we don't even know if that deal is actually legit, because at least we know Eddie Hearn is confirming that there has been an offer from the DAZN side and from the Matchroom side for Canelo Alvarez. And Eddie Hearn is actually a guy who's in a position to confirm that, because he's the guy that cuts the check. No one on that PBC side who is in a position of power will ever come out and put any information out there, because they don't do interviews over there.
How many times have you heard from Tim Smith? How many times
rarely
have you heard from Al Heyman?
And you mentioned Tim Smith. He's in charge of public relations. He has nothing to do with the finances, right?
No. No, but he's the guy that gets quoted the most in terms of a PBC executive. That's the only reason I brought his name out there.
Because he's a public relations guy, what's he doing? He's trying to promote his fighters. So by them just floating Jamal Charlo's name out there with Canelo Alvarez, what is that doing? That's giving Jamal Charlo free press. That's putting Jamal Charlo's name in the headlines. That's putting Jamal's name in every boxing website's headline. And he's being talked about on ESPN shows. So what is that doing? I told Nepal this, and I've told people this. They're just putting this bullshit narratives and these bullshit clickbait headlines out there to promote the PBC fighters. I don't even think these deals are even real. And that's just my opinion. You could say, Beeb, how do you know? I'm coming out and I'm saying, this is my opinion. I'm not saying I know for a fact these deals aren't real. But I had strong information that Charlo fight was never going to happen. Just wasn't going to happen.
No, I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen either, and we both.
So there's no truth to
beginning.
it, Maestro and Joe, that they were negotiating a little bit.
Let me ask you this, Nopal, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe that the world is round or that the world is flat?
That it's round.
Okay, well, why do you believe that? Because facts have been presented, right?
Yeah, because of the globe and all that.
Yeah. I don't believe things until I see facts.
Well, here's the thing, Maestro.
Or sometimes I might put A together with B, or make addition of 3 + 4 = 7, but I didn't see anything that led me to make that kind of an analysis. I'm just hearing rumor after rumor. Rumors don't lead to me believing something to be true.
Well, here's the thing, Maestro. And I said this earlier in the show, and I'm going to repeat it because you weren't here when I repeated it. Because someone sends an email to somebody and it doesn't get responded to, does that mean there's actually talks, or is someone just reaching out to somebody else? Because Canelo Alvarez said, we have never responded to any of their offers.
Let me put it to you this way, right?
That's not talks.
You're in high school or whatever, right? And you send the girl a text asking her out on a date. Okay, why you didn't just do it face to face is another story, but you send her a text. We're in talks. I'm in talks to go out with the prettiest girl in the school. We're in talks.
Well, this girl may go out with me. How do you know she may go out with you? She never said anything. Well, I text her. I'm sure she read the text, and because she read the text, I see that little thing that says "read." That means she's interested in me.
Hey,
that's what
Joe.
That's what Coppinger does,
bro. We didn't have phones like that back then, man.
No, I'm just saying.
But I gotta relate it to the younger generation.
Oh,
right?
Okay. We're not going back. We're talking present time, huh?
Yeah, or present time, because maybe I'm wrong, but are grown people believe in this stuff? Maybe grown people all believe in this stuff.
And here's another thing that's disturbing.
I don't know.
Here's another thing that's disturbing. You ask yourself why, like, besides Dan Raphael, no one else has called out Mike Coppinger. I shout out to Dan Raphael. Not a huge fan of him, but I respect his work. I respect his
he should be called out.
Yeah, I respect his experience. But the reason why no one is calling Coppinger out is because they like to take his clickbait headline, and they like to use it for their website so they can get more clickbait headlines.
Yeah, they want to run with it, huh?
They want to run with it so they can kind of clout chase too. Let me let Philly Drew get in here, man. Let me get his.
What up, Drew?
What's up, Drew?
A little hungover, but I'm okay.
All right, man.
So I don't know, man. Like, I always thought he was gonna wind up fighting Bavard at the end because, like, I don't know, for some reason I thought it was the most sensible fight for him to fight right now is Bavard. I think it was the easiest fight to make, but like Carpenter, man, is like post treat after treat, bullshit after bullshit. I'm surprised this dude has a job at ESPN. But you know what, man? I never really was high on ESPN because ESPN hates on Philly all the time. So I say screw ESPN. But this guy's an idiot. He shouldn't even be on Twitter reporting shit. He shouldn't even have a job. I'm hearing that this guy is not, like a big boxing guy at the end of the day. Like this guy was given the NHL job to play NHL. He'll take that in a heartbeat and leave.
Philly, I'll back up exactly what you just said. I was out at the Devin Haney Jojo Diaz fight, and I saw him. He was there. He wasn't even watching the fights. The whole time he was there, he was just, talking to people. Oftentimes in the media area, just talking, going from one person to another person to another person. I was at my seat ringside pretty much the whole night watching the fights, the entire undercard. He wasn't there. He showed up pretty much for the main event, and then afterwards, was again talking to this person, talking to that person. It wasn't even like he was there to cover the fight. He wasn't there interviewing the fighters. You know what I mean? It was very interesting to me to see this from the perspective of someone who went there as a media member. That this guy working for ESPN wasn't actually watching the fights, or wasn't really there seemingly to cover the fight. He was just there to speak to people who, by the way, were not even involved in the actual fight taking place.
Like, I just don't get it. Like, how the hell do you get your sources? Number one. Number two, are you just making them up? Like it's like fake fucking news the whole fucking time with this dude. It's like he reported like five straight times. People are telling him.
Beeb, I just sent you an email. Beeb, I've offered to buy Beeb Industries. We're in talks.
I think people really need to start going on Twitter and just hashtag and follow Mike Carpenter because this dude, he's not good for the sport. He's an idiot. First and foremost, idiot.
I don't know if I was the first to say it, but I'm pretty sure I was when I started calling him Capinger, and now I'm calling him all caps because clearly when he's writing these pieces, he's got the all caps button on stuck because that's all that comes out.
Oh, he's a little prick, as Bob Allen calls him. But at the end of the day, this dude shouldn't even be having a job in the boxing. He shouldn't have a job in the journalism field in the first place because all this guy does is lie, make shit up.
Yeah, and then you compare him to a guy like Chris Mannix, who not everyone likes, not everyone agrees with, but I'll be honest, his podcast is really good. The one that he drops on for Sports Illustrated. It's all fact-based. He actually conducts real interviews, right? You can listen to his journalistic work as he does it or as he presents it. It's like the total antithesis of Mike Capinger, 100%.
Don't let the dude.
You can go to other sources, even in the mainstream media, for much better content. And Chris Mannix's podcast is one of those places. Keith Idec with Boxing Scene, same
He's
thing.
Good.
Same thing. Keith Idec, like there's other places you can go. The fact that this guy is the main dude at ESPN, and that ESPN's Twitter account, refers to his reporting, and now even Max on Boxing, Max Kellerman, right, uses this guy as evidence, as source on his show. It's like, dude, what are you doing? It's like worse than Chris Broussard on FS1 when he's reporting on the NBA and the rumor mill.
I'm gonna tell you who his source is, and it's no secret. And I'm just gonna come out and say it. It's Tim Smith, and Tim Smith is telling him to put this stuff out there, and it's really not accurate stuff. And I think Tim Smith is telling him to put it out there because, once again, it's all clout chasing. Get our fighters' names in the headlines. Get people talking about our fighters, right? so we can get our fighters popular. We got to build this way. We're trying to build our fighters up off of Canelo Alvarez's name,
And it's
and
true because
that's what it is.
Charlo's thing was he used to say that Canelo was ducking him, but when that was over, and the fans never stopped believing that, now they got to look for a different way to attach their, other fighters too, not just Charlo. But
if you're serious about making a fight, you don't negotiate it on Twitter. You don't negotiate it on YouTube. You don't negotiate it on fucking a website. You don't put fake information out there. You don't see Canelo Alvarez going back and forth with fighters on Twitter talking about my deal, like we offered you this, we offered you that. Whenever you see shit like that, right then and there a fight is not going to happen. That's bullshit. Because when a fight is seriously going to happen, everyone goes quiet. Everyone goes quiet. No one's going to put out the financial information of the deal and the intricacies of the deal, because it's really no one's business to know all that. And when you see someone putting all that shit out there, they're not serious. That's not a real one. That's not a real one when someone's doing that. That's all bullshit. And you can't listen to what Bill Haney says, because again, I'll repeat, he is not in a position of power. He is not cutting checks when there's a major fight involved.
I look at it like this. When Charlo got arrested...
Can I ask you about the other... Go ahead, Philly.
Go ahead, finish your point, Philly.
When Charlo got arrested, I know there's no way in hell Charlo was getting this fight after he got arrested. There's just no way in hell you could give him the fight.
Well, can I explain something else to you, Philly?
Yeah.
Another reason why Tim Smith is telling Coppinger to put this other shit out there. Why do you think? To take some of the attention off of the arrest stuff.
Yeah.
It's think about it. They knew this arrest shit was gonna come out probably weeks before it came out.
And
so think about it. Let's put this other shit out there, 50 million 2-fight deal, blah, 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 blah. Let's get the press talking about this to take the attention off of the Charlo arrest.
And the other thing is, I'll be honest with you,
Bill. Doesn't take a rocket science to figure this shit out, but go ahead, Philly.
I really think Devin Haney needs to distance himself from his father, because, tell you the truth right now, he's more bad for his career than good. Like, I don't know where, we'll take the money to take the deal for Lomachenko and everything, for the Lomachenko took and everything. It's like, you're overpricing yourself. Then when Lomachenko signed his contract to fight Kambosos, we'll take his deal and everything. Bill Haney is a very bad business guy. He really is. And he says a lot of bullshit, which is a big no-no. And nobody's going to want to fuck with him. Like, this is why nobody likes fucking with the Haneys, because it's all about bullshit. Got a kid that just calls everybody out on Twitter, expects nobody to answer back to him. When one guy answers back to him, he doesn't say nothing back to him, and then because he doesn't expect nobody.
Well, this is what I wanted to pivot to next, the whole situation with the lightweight division and what's happening with Kambosos and Lomachenko and Kambosos and Haney. Look, I made this point on the roundtable. Everybody should check out that if they haven't seen it. Salute to Joe D-Style Boxing, Base the Kid, and Kenny T, who are doing the show. None of these dudes are stars. I was at Lopez Kambosos. It was in the small room at the Garden. I was at Jojo Diaz Haney. Yes, it was at the MGM Grand, but it was in the lower bowl. I was at Lomachenko Comey. Yes, it was at the big room at the Garden, but again, lower bowl, the upper deck was all blocked off, right? None of these dudes are filling out stadiums, let alone arenas in the United States. That's number one, okay? But I am kind of unsure of, who's telling the truth, who's lying in this situation. I was listening to a more recent interview with Bill Haney on the Boxing Voice with Ness, where he was essentially saying that not only will they take the Lomachenko offer, right, whatever Lomachenko was offered, but that they would do the fight even for free if Lomachenko was going to do it for free. The Haney Senior, Bill Haney, was saying essentially that whatever they're offering Lomachenko, they'll take the exact same thing, and then he'll cut a separate check to up it for Team Gambosis to make it a more lucrative fight. So my question to the panel is, like, your thoughts on this, Joe. What is the more lucrative fight? This is an open question. I don't even think I have formed my full thoughts on this yet. Gambosis against Haney on DAZN through Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Obviously, the check goes through Matchroom. We all know this. We don't need to get into the weeds on that. Or Gambosis Lomachenko, because I think the fight that I would want to see is let's just get this undisputed thing out of the way, and let's let Lomachenko fight the winner. Personally, that's my personal view of what I would like to see.
I like the Haney fight better. I like the Haney fight.
Yeah,
better.
I like it as well. I like the Haney fight as well. I like the idea of two young, undefeated world champions that hold all of the belts fighting each other. Lomachenko had his time. He had his shot. Let him get the winner. That's my own personal view.
I agree 100%.
But I'm not gonna say to Gambosis to fight for less money against Haney than you'd make against Lomachenko.
Yeah,
that's just bad business. Is it actually a bigger fight financially?
Yes,
Lomachenko.
Yeah,
okay,
yes.
Go for it, Joe.
You know why it's bigger? Here's the thing. Everyone's, and I'm going to repeat what I said on the roundtable. It's bigger because it appears, according to Kambosos himself, that they gave him the bigger offer. So whoever's putting up the most money is the more lucrative fight. Now, who's the more popular fighter? Obviously, it's going to be Lomachenko because he's done more. He's been around longer, more accomplishments. But the more lucrative fight is whoever puts up the most money.
So if they match the offer, is that a bad thing, or like if it's true that they'll match the offer?
If I'm Kambosos and I'm getting paid the same amount of money for either fight, and I'm Lou DiBella and I'm getting paid the same amount of money for either fight, I'm taking the Devin Haney fight.
All right, so we're in agreement then on that one, because I think he has a better shot against Haney than he has against Loma.
Most people do. I think Lomachenko is a tougher style matchup. He's a southpaw. I think he's a harder puncher. I think he's a better inside fighter than Haney. He's more experienced. He's coming off two solid performances. The thing
fought all over the world as an amateur too. I mean, he's not going to be frazzled by going to Australia.
He's got more experience fighting on hostile territory. Went over to the UK, whatever. Here's the thing, though. It's not a question of Haney pricing himself out of the fight, because Eddie Hearn made the offer. So for Eddie Hearn to have made the offer, Haney had to already agree to his financial side, right? I'm just thinking that Top Rank came up with a better deal, and that's that. Just like Top Rank out hustled Eddie in the Dillian White fight.
Is it just that? Because it's not a purse bid. No, but it's not a purse bid.
It doesn't matter.
Eddie Hearn. If I'm Team Gambosis, what I do is I say, look, this is the offer we got from Top Rank. Can you do better than that?
And that's what's happening right now. All right, that's what's happening right now. I'm not saying.
So your understanding is to say your reading of the situation is pretty much the same as mine then.
So here's the thing. So Top Rank came up with a better offer. Now it's up to Matchroom to outdo that offer. And I think that right now it looks like Top Rank's been out hustling Eddie Hearn as of recently.
There's something I forgot to mention, is that I do distinctly remember Eddie Hearn saying something about Devin Haney had to start being a little more sensible prior to all this situation, before a little bit when the negotiation.
I didn't hear that. I haven't heard that.
I think me and Drew were talking about that because me and Drew, I think we went on Twitter and we were like, I think Devin Haney's pricing himself out. There's rumors already. That was when, the situation was fresh. And, I think I'm pretty sure He said something like that. But for me, without no information, the one thing that I always know is that Devin Haney does make about $3 million per fight, right? To fight anybody. So off the top, that's already more money than Lomachenko made to fight Teofimo. That's more than Teofimo. That's around how much Teofimo might have made for to fight Gambosis, right? On, so that tells me off the bat that he has to get paid about 3 to 4 million to fight anybody. I mean, to fight Gambosis. So off the top, if I was Gambosis right away, I'd be asking for at least just a little bit more than Haney, right? So that right there for me puts the fight out of, kind of like it makes it impossible because I don't think they want to pay Gambosis that much.
Well, we're hearing rumors that the WBO has ordered the Lomachenko-Kambosos fight, but once again, if that was the case, you would have heard it from the WBO. WBO would have put it out there. A spokesman from the WBO would have put it out there.
Or it would just be out on their website.
It would be on their website.
I mean, when they do mandatories, they always post this stuff on their website.
They put it out on all the sanctioning bodies will put it out on their social media networks and in their websites that a fight has been ordered. A mandatory fight has been ordered. So it hasn't been done. Go to WBO's Twitter right now. There's nothing there that says we've ordered this fight. There's no press releases, nothing. It's all, once again, rumors. Instead of saying that they could do it, people want to say they've done it because what? Why? Because it sounds more sexy. They haven't ordered that fight yet. That's not confirmed yet.
And why would they order that fight? Isn't there another guy in line before Lomachenko who lost already?
I'll have to put up. I'm going to pull up their rankings right now, Nopal. I'll get right back to you on that.
I'll be honest with you right now. Lomachenko's ranked 1 in the WBC and the WBO.
That's what I thought.
And everything. So
and I think he's probably the best. Yeah, but I thought there was other guys in line. Before Loma.
Rankings. I saw the rankings, and they had Lomachenko as number 1 in WBC.
Yeah, he's number 1.
Look, one thing I'm going to say about both Lomachenko and Haney is they have been putting in the work. Regardless of what you think about Lomachenko, he did just beat Nakatami and Comey emphatically. Yeah. Regardless of what you say about Devin Haney, he did just beat Jojo Diaz in a pretty good fight. Again, I was there live for all of these fights. And he also beat Linares, and that Linares and Jojo are 2 very good opponents, as are Nakatani and Comey. So I'm good with either one. Just as a fan, I'd love to see Undisputed. I'd love for it to be against 2 guys that are undefeated, that are young. And Haney, like Lopez, has been talking for a little time now about moving up. And I just like some clarity in the division before he leaves and goes up to 140. That's just my opinion as a fan. Loma isn't going up to 140. Loma's going to stay around at 135. So I have no problem with him fighting for vacant belts or against the winner, should that be Gambosis.
I just want to see Haney in a big fight.
Let me let
Jimbo get in real quick because he's been waiting. Go ahead, Jimbo.
Yeah, hi, Beeb. Thanks for having me on. I've always been a massive fan of your videos. Bro, to be honest, I just wanted to circle back. To what you're saying about Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's been a massive disappointment in the UK as well. Recently we've had a couple of big fights. Like Eubank Jr. Is back again on Sky Sports. That was a big name that you could have put on the zone. Khan Brook, massive fight in the UK. Again, he missed the boat there. Sky Sports got that. He lost a purse bid for Fury White. So I know a lot of fans in America think Eddie Hearn's letting the American boxing fans down, but it's the same in the UK. Like on the zone, if you've got it in the UK, the only thing you're getting is Conor Benn fighting kind of has-beens or women's boxing. That's about it.
Well, one thing I will say to that, Jimbo, real quick. One thing I will say is I listened to an interview with Kell Brook's father where they actually said that they got a bigger offer to fight on a streaming platform. He didn't mention which, but I'm assuming it was DAZN. But that Kell Brook was insistent on wanting to be on Sky and on Sky Box Office because in his view, more people would see the fight, and he wanted as many people as possible to see him beat Amir Khan. So I don't know if they didn't get the fight because they didn't put up enough money for it, like they didn't do with White and Fury. What I will say though about it is that I mean, I do agree. I mean, it's looking like a lot of fights are ending up on Sky, and Sky seems to be rebounding pretty well. I said this on the roundtable. People were already digging in the graves for Sky.
Yeah,
Just like they worked for HBO when DAZN came into the picture. But Sky, to be honest, with Boxer and Ben Shalom, I got to give them credit. They've been putting up some big fights. They've been doing big numbers. This fight that they have this Saturday, the shoulder programming has been great. The face-offs, the mini documentaries they've had, the buzz around the fight is really good. And to Joe's point and to my point, when people are like, oh, what's Terrence Crawford gonna do now that ESPN's out of the picture? Now that who's he gonna fight on DAZN? Well, Boxer and Sky have now established themselves as a major player, and fighters who are respected across the world, who may not have the PBC push here in the United States, like a Terrence Crawford, like a Clarissa Shields, are finding a home for them in a foreign market, and I think that that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Jimbo. You sound like you're UK based. I don't know if you're from Great Britain. I don't know.
I'm from London. Yeah, bro, I'm from London.
I got to ask you an honest question. Terrence Crawford fights Josh Taylor in a stadium in Great Britain, and it's on Sky pay-per-view over there, right? And maybe it's on I don't know, maybe just on Sky pay-per-view, and maybe we can pick it up somewhere here. I don't know. Someone picks it up here. I don't know who would pick it up. Just from the a perspective of a UK boxing fan, how big would that fight be?
To be honest, mate, that'd be huge in the UK because Terence Crawford actually came over and won his first title in the UK against Ricky Burns. He's had really dominant wins over Amir Khan and Kell Brook, British fighters. He's over in the UK right now supporting Amir Khan, so he's doing a lot of press. I think that'd be huge in the UK, especially in Glasgow. They could probably sell out like a soccer stadium, and they do big on pay-per-view as well. So I think Terence Crawford could probably make, over $10 million.
Right. And here's the thing too, because everyone's saying Bob would stop the fight, but here's the thing: if Josh Taylor were to move up, and the WBO made him the super champion, right? Because part of the criteria of being a super champion from the WBO, there's a lot of requirements, right? But one of them is if you're an undisputed champion, right? More often than not, what do? They elevate you to super champion. They could easily elevate him to super champion, and they can mandate that fight, and Bob Arum can't stop it. They can't stop it. And I can see that happening because when Terrence Crawford was undisputed, he was elevated to super champion by the WBO, and he was able to fight Jeff Horn immediately. He was mandated to fight Jeff Horn. Usyk was mandated to fight Anthony Joshua because when he became undisputed, what did the WBO do? They elevated him to super champion. I see no reason, and again, this is just, I preface this with my opinion. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I think it's very likely to happen. I see that playing out. And I've seen Josh Taylor recently in interviews. He looks He looks big. He doesn't look like 140. He doesn't look like 140 pounder. He looks like 154 pounder. If you want me to be frank, he's actually a bigger man than Terrence Crawford, right? Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to win the fight, but I think it's a great fight. It's something that I would really be excited for, and I see that type of scenario playing out potentially. Him being elevated to super champion and that fight being mandated. And again, Arum's the type of guy where he doesn't give a fuck. As long as he's making money, he'll do business with anybody.
Well, to your point too, Joe, guess what platform Josh Taylor is fighting on in the UK when he takes on Catterall?
Sky, isn't it?
Sky under the Boxer promotion.
And I've said that. And Terrence Crawford's in the UK right now too. And again, I'm not trying to play conspiracy theorist, but you don't think maybe he's talking to Ben Shalom, possibly, potentially? You don't think that's going on right now behind the scenes?
I think it's a lot more than possible. I think it's probable, Joe.
Also, there's been conspiracies and whispers in the UK that Boxer is actually, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but it's been going around for a while, that Boxer is actually secretly funded by MTK Global, and it's kind of like a front for them to use as a promoters.
And Terrence Crawford is and Josh Taylor are both MTK Global fighters. Both.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
So this whole thing about Crawford's career is over.
Yeah,
I think that's fucking bullshit.
I never bought that, and it totally also discredits the view, which I know you've heard, Joe, that somehow MTK only works with Queensbury and only works with Top Rank. I mean, it's absurd.
They're a powerhouse over there, man.
Yeah, so I think it's a great thing now that we've got 3 emerging players, or players that have emerged, not emerging.
But
in
Boxer,
Boxer,
is
Queensbury.
MTK. That's incorrect. Bud is MTK. That's totally false.
Boxer, Queensbury, and of course the Zone Matchroom. I mean, those are 3 major players now in the UK, and the global players, I'd say, now, because the UK is a big global market. And not only that, where's Clarissa Shields Savannah Marshall going to take place, Joe?
In the UK?
Yeah, under what platform?
Sky.
Thank you. Boxer Promotions, right? So I mean, it's a good thing. It's very interesting, though, Jimbo, to hear that view about the Zone in the UK, though, and you really not getting much bang for your buck, because you pay a lot less for it than we do over here. Are you saying that you don't get the DAZN coverage that we get, like the DAZN fights? Like, for instance, Jaime Munguia, he's taking on an opponent that I think he's probably going to win, although I did see a quick video where it showed him almost collapsing at the weigh-in. I don't know if you saw that, Joe.
I did not.
Yeah, the weigh-in didn't really go too well for him based on the clip that I saw. So I may have to rethink that. I got to go look at it in more detail. It came up right before you went live, so I didn't watch the whole thing. But Jimbo, are you not getting the Munguia fight? Or is it that just you're not interested in it?
Jaime Munguia. To be honest, I mean, I like Munguia. He kind of left a bit taste in my mouth when he didn't take the Andrade fight, because I'm a big Andrade fan, and I just want to see him get like a big fight against Triple G or Charlo Munguia. But in the Zone, we should get it. Yeah.
All right. So your comment then was mostly about the big UK fights not taking place on the Zone.
Yeah, mate. It's not really even the big UK fights, and a lot of the American fights, like like Canelo, he's not fighting on the Zone anymore, and Eddie Hearn really wasn't able to get any of the kind of marquee American fighters.
Well, I don't think, I'll tell you the truth right now, I think Mejia is going to take that WBO fight since Andre's going to move up. Because I didn't think Golden Boy wanted Mejia to fight Andre. It was a really bad matchup. They think Andre would have, I think Andre would have easily beat Mejia. Because I tell you the truth, Mejia, he is an action-packed fighter, but I think he's really slow at times. And now I think that's why Andre takes advantage of it.
You're talking about the Janibek fight, Drew?
No, I'm talking about, I think he will take the Janibek fight.
Yeah.
But I think it's a bad idea for him to take the Janibek fight, because I think Janibek beats Mejia.
Janibek is the goods,
I think Janibek beats Mejia too, but
that'd be a great fight.
I think he will take that fight since Andre's moving up, because he was the mandatory for Andre for over a year and a half, and they never exercised it.
I think Janibek against all of the champions is a good fight. Triple G, Murata, Charlo, even Lara. I think Lara, doesn't he still have the secondary title with the WBA? Like, I think Janibek is good money against, like, it's competitive fight against all of those guys.
I don't think Munguia will take that fight, because Benavidez was saying that the PBC were trying to make Caleb Plant versus Jamal Charlo if Canelo went back to the Zone. So I think his title will become vacant. And I think the number 2 contender is the guy that just beat Derevchenko. So I think Golden Boy will probably feel more comfortable putting him in there with the guy that just beat Derevchenko, I think Adames or something, than someone like a Janibek.
Well, I don't know what the Canelo thing has to do with it, though, because it's 160. Unless you're talking about Charlo moving, because Charlo moving up. Okay, Charlo moving up to 168. So you think Charlo's going to vacate the WBC title, is what you're saying?
Yeah, mate, because Benavidez was saying in an interview that Caleb Plant and Charlo are going to fight each other, and that's why he called out Demetrius Andrade.
So you're saying that Munguia essentially will steer towards the WBC to take on Adames rather than take on Janibek, right?
Yeah, because I think out of the two options, would you not say Adames is probably a little easier?
I think Adames is a much easier fight for him, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I believe Chris Eubank Jr. is rated over there as well, right? Just under those guys.
Yeah, I think they might order Eubank Jr. versus Janibek.
Yeah.
So that'd be a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some options. I definitely would steer towards Adames too if I was in his management team.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this Andrade situation, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this Brook Khan fight today. I think it's a great fight. And,
did you guys hear Andrade's Benavidez's promoter? I think his name's Samson or something.
Samson Lekovic out of Uruguay.
Was he saying that they
need
10
more
million
for,
or
at
was
least
somebody
10 million was what he said when Ness was interviewing him on the Boxing Boys to take on Andrade.
So they need to get paid more for Andrade than for Canelo, or is it because of the pay-per-view and all that they're going to eventually get paid?
Well, I mean, he was trying to justify it by saying that, you know, he's a difficult fight. Andrade, that is, but I mean, even the 7 million I thought was ridiculous.
Here's my question. So you're gonna give him $7 to $10 million to fight Andre. How much are you giving Andre? Because Andre is gonna expect more money out of this because
he's the champ.
No, he was the WBO champion. He's moving up in weight, so that's already puts him in the WBO eliminator. And this fight that he will fight Benavidez, it's not going to be an eliminator. So, how much more money are you giving Andre to fight Benavidez?
I mean, at that point, you're making more money if you're Andrade to take on Zach Parker than you would to take on Benavidez. First of all, I don't even think it's a $7 million fight, let alone $7 million to one fighter. I mean, that's
I was going to ask you. I'm not from America, so I'm not familiar with the market. But Andrade versus Benavidez, I mean, is that like a $20 million fight? How big is that up there?
Not that.
Hell much. No, that's not pay-per-view. That's like a Showtime fight, or just a regular DAZN fight if it goes over to DAZN. That's not a huge money fight. Especially if no titles are on the line.
If you do a post bid between them two, I probably wouldn't give no more than maybe $7 to $10 million. Bet that. And I'll be honest with you, I really like Andre. It's hard for him to get fights against the top tier because not a lot of people will fight him, and Eddie hasn't really done that good of a job, in my opinion, promoting him. And Benavidez, the PBC and his management group aren't doing really that much of a good job either, getting him the big fights. Like his biggest fight is Anthony Durrell. So,
but how bad was the timing of what the promoter said when Benavidez is out here and Andrade is out here saying that they want the fight? You know, like Benavidez is trying to act like
that's a good point.
He wants to fight, and then Samson comes out and says, "Hey, we need more money for." I
think, you know what I think that is, Nopal? I think that Samson, being the manager, throwing cold water on the fight because he doesn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
I think he's out there almost saying that specifically because his fighter is out there saying that he would take on Andrade, and him being like, nah, that's not a fight we want to take. And if we are going to take that, we need $10 million.
And you know what the fans do is we sit here and hope that just like when Canelo had Lara saying he wanted calling him out, we hope that Benavidez tries to override that situation. But I know it's not going to happen. But we look at these dream situations and be like, hey, you know, it's a hard fight for you, but we want you to take it, bro. But, you know, it's fantasy, huh?
I mean, you're talking about a guy whose last 3 fights were Angulo, Ellis, and Davis, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Joe, you talked about Tank Davis's minimum guarantee, right? Fighting under the PBC Showtime umbrella. How could Benavidez expect to get more than what Tank Davis is being offered as a minimum, regardless of what you say about Tank Davis. The guy does put asses in seats.
Well, his purse, his guarantee in the Isaac Cruz fight was listed as $1 million. So
so we're jumping from $1 million guarantee for Tank to $10 million guarantee for Benavidez. That's a huge jump.
Yeah,
tenfold jump. Come on now.
It's hard to figure out what's going on over there because no one really does interviews over there, and the people that do interviews, they're usually they're not the people who are in the position of power. You know, so if like Samson Lukowicz, is he actually Benavidez' promoter or
no, he's a manager.
He's his manager, correct?
Yes.
So
he was also Sergio Martinez's manager at one point.
Yeah, I mean, he's discovered a lot of talent. Yeah, one of the best talent scouts in the sport for sure.
But
a manager can sit there and say whatever he wants, but again, he's not the guy cutting the checks. How much control does he have over the situation? So all these people over there that talk, and he seems to be the only guy who's talking right now on behalf of Benavidez. When you talk to Benavidez, he'll say he'll fight anybody. I don't care. Blah 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 blah. And then you hear Lukowicz saying what he wants to say. So at some point, like, who do you believe, right? That's the thing. The thing about this is you have to sit there and decipher through all this bullshit when you hear all these stories.
That's exactly it. I want to wish everyone a great Saturday. Enjoy the fight today. I think it's going to be an exciting fight, regardless of what people think about the meaningfulness of the fight at this stage of these two guys' career. I think Brook and Khan are going to put on a show. I think the Manchester arena is going to be raucous. It's a big arena, seats over 20,000. These guys are guys that can fill an arena. Even at this stage of their career, I think it's going to be exciting. Joe, I have pretty much the same pick as you. I think Kell Brook's going to win this fight, and I actually don't agree with the idea that he looked gaunt. I felt he looked very gaunt going into the Crawford fight.
Yeah,
but he actually looked primed and ready. And mentally, compare him to like Munguia at the weigh-in.
Well, what I said earlier was he knew about this fight way in advance, so he probably started. He started making his cut earlier than normal. And I think I suspect his cut wasn't as bad. I don't know that for sure, but I suspect his cut wasn't as bad.
I think it's safe to say that, because one of the reasons Dom Ingle said that he didn't take the last fight with Crawford as the chief second was that he didn't felt he had enough time to prepare Kell Brook, that it was kind of thrown at them with too little time, and he didn't think it was right for Kell. So I think there's a lot of credence behind what you said there, Joe. But
yeah,
have a great Saturday, everyone. You guys can check in later. I'll be live too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go live later. Yeah, I'm gonna go live later. I'm gonna jump off too, guys. Man, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Great discussion, and we'll all catch up later, man. Peace out, everybody.